Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next edition of the Filibuster, the Premium Cigar Association Government Affairs Update. I'm Joshua Habursky, the Deputy Executive Director, joined by Mr. Glynn Loope, our Director of State Advocacy. We're going to give just some high-level updates on what's going on with the government right now and at both the state and federal levels, and talk a little bit about what trade show programming we have for government affairs. In Congress right now, legislatively, there are not a ton of moving parts. We're monitoring and engaging on some small business tax deductions, working with the Small Business Committee in particular. Also fighting back on some private sector initiatives, basically banking and communications related to tobacco product. There's some restrictions that some of the anti-tobacco groups are starting to peddle. So we're focused on ensuring that those don't, go and get inserted in any moving legislation. We've also been regularly filing comments. Patrick Anderson, our outside consultant, and I recently presented to the Senate Help Committee staff on tobacco regulation overall and some of the pitfalls and problems that the Center for Tobacco Products has been engaged in doing over the past few years, weighing in a little bit on their strategic plan, and monitoring any of the pending proposed rules or final rules that are in play between now and most likely the end of the year. Outside of that, it's definitely political season. We're doing a lot of events, recruiting, and supporting candidates that are small business friendly, as well as being friendly to premium cigars and pipe tobacco. I'm also very pleased to announce we are hosting and going to be attending the Chicago Pipe Show and providing a legislative update. Scott Pierce, Lisa Sigler from our membership team, the three of us will be going to the Chicago Pipe Show. Scott and I will be doing a seminar on Saturday for attendees of that. So that will be the first time talking a little bit about pipe tobacco and some of the unique regulations and legislation that affects that key sector of our retail and manufacturing membership. I know a lot of times we are very, very much focused on premium cigars, but we still are engaged on a lot of pipe issues. So that will be a good forum to do that. But before the Chicago Pipe Show, we have our trade show. Very excited for March in Las Vegas. Glynn and I will be presenting along with Patrick Anderson and Scott Pierce, our executive director, on Sunday at 11 a.m. at the PCA Lounge. This is kind of branded the state of advocacy, kind of where things are going, where things are, as we speak. We'll also talk a little bit about, the status of the litigation and the appeal of the Food and Drug Administration on the deeming rule case. Our legal counsel will be present walking the show, and it really is turning into the Super Bowl and family reunion that we know and love, with a lot of outside guests. I think this year we were tallying it, we're almost at a dozen members of Congress that will be joining in Vegas for the trade show. Glynn, I want to shift over to you on the state side and give some state updates and talk a little bit about our state programming at the trade show as well.
Very good, Josh. Well, we are excited about heading to the annual gathering in Las Vegas, and we are going to be convening each of our respective state associations for updates and organizational meetings, political updates on what's going on in their respective states, how our state associations can do outreach with our federal legislators, their federal legislators. And those meetings will be taking place on Sunday and Monday of the trade show between 12 and 2, also at the PCA Lounge, or right there off the food court. So we'll all figure out together where we're exactly going to be. But we're excited about this moment to be able to update all of our state association members personally in Las Vegas. we're in the somewhere between the tail end and the end of a lot of state capital sessions right now as we speak. In fact, within minutes, and I do mean within minutes, the Virginia budget will be released, and we'll see if there's some tax relief measures included in that. I do want to highlight really a quick story about what happened in Colorado last Thursday. Senator Tom Sullivan's a member of the state Senate for the state of Colorado, and he's a cigar enthusiast. And he put in legislation to limit the tax on premium cigars defined in legislation in a bill that he submitted this year. And we're really grateful that he did that. And he did it on his own. He did it as a passionate cigar patron of shops throughout the state of Colorado. And that came up for a hearing in front of the Senate Finance Committee last week. We failed on a 4-3 vote. I say we failed, but it was the best failure I've ever been a part of. And I say that because of the enthusiasm from members of the committee that were embracing the arguments that Senator Sullivan was putting out. And in fact, when the traditional healthcare groups came out against the legislation from heart, lung, and cancer, one of the sitting members of the Senate Finance Committee said it, quote unquote, it's laughable. That was his word. It is laughable to equate premium cigars with other tobacco products from a regulatory and tax perspective. To have that type of a dialogue on record is a really valuable part of our legislative process and our advocacy process in the states. And we're also grateful that Senator Sullivan has pledged to bring the bill back again next year. So I told the senator, we were having a call the day before the hearing. Just having that type of legislation exist is important and sends an important message for this industry. Real quickly, I'll run through an update on some of the other state activity. There's legislation in Missouri to prevent local governments from having regulatory and tax authority over tobacco products that would hypothetically supersede that of the state. We have flavor ban legislation and tax legislation of concern in Michigan. We have the still alive, a cigar bar bill alive in the state of Wisconsin. Believe it or not, we have plans right now taking place for the 2025 state legislative season, and we've already had planning sessions on legislation in Georgia, Nebraska, and Michigan for 2025. We'd like to keep an eye on right now. Like I said, we're in the 11th hour of a lot of state sessions. We don't know which way the wind's blowing exactly on flavor ban legislation in Vermont, what's going to happen in Maine. Still a tax bill alive, though no movement in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I throw these out just as an example of the moving target that we're constantly trying. It's like playing political whack-a-mole. What's going to pop up next? But that's a real rundown on where we are in the states today and planning right now, 9 months out from what's going to happen in 2025. The legislative process is now in the state level is truly now a year-round endeavor. So a lot of sessions started the second week of January. They're hopefully wrapping up now because no good can come from them staying in. None of them. Go home to your families. They need to see you. So close these state capitals down so that nothing adverse can happen to this beloved industry.
Yeah, Glenn, and of course, at the trade show, we will be highlighting a lot of the activities. We'll have a dozen or so state association meetings. Again, that's on Sunday and Monday, 12 to 2, near the food court area. Another highlight of government affairs at the trade show. At registration, folks will get kind of the highlights of a year of activities for government affairs, what has taken place. Since the previous trade show, we put together a highlight top level document, as well as ways to get involved. And that's something that, everyone at the trade show will have first access to, but we will be emailing that out to our membership and consumers that have been involved. I also have to give a shout out to the folks in Maryland, the Maryland State Association, as well as the retailers and consumers. They are fighting a cigar bar bill there, and thousands of messages sent to state legislators in Maryland. Very, very active response. One of our top grassroots campaigns, which, between the last trade show and now, I think we're upwards of in the high 20s, if not low 30s, of grassroots action alerts submitted. That, in addition to the thousands of pieces of legislation that have been tracked. Another few highlights that are coming down the pipeline once we get beyond the trade show. Glynn and I will be facilitating and working with some of our other industry partners for the National Conference of State Legislatures, a reception and cigar programming. And then for the first time, the PCA will be engaging through cigar events, a policy luncheon, as well as 2 receptions at the RNC and the DNC. So, obviously you have the presidential nominating conventions, but you have many sitting members of Congress, politicos that, flock to, in this case, Milwaukee for the RNC and Chicago for the DNC. PCA will have a presence and facilitating cigar events at both of those. So, we are hitting the ground running when it comes to anticipating what's going on in 2025. As Glenn mentioned, state legislatures are preparing for what's going on. PCA, we've also been preparing what lies ahead. Patrick Anderson and I, just this year from January up until now, have had 50 plus congressional meetings with folks that we believe have a higher than likelihood chance of getting reelected next Congress. I think something that Glynn and I take great pride in, since we've been working together at PCA, there's been no tax increases at the federal or state level that have gone in and been enacted into law. That's something that we certainly want to preserve in a good record. I think that last go around, when we gave our state of advocacy, the industry was in a better place. Monumental state year at last year's trade show, obviously the backdrop of the successful court case. And I think, you've seen a continuation of that. And we are also, this trade show, March 2024, we were in a better place since July. There's new licensing for cigar bars going into effect in Connecticut, cigar bar legislation percolating in a number of states. And we're really on the offensive right now. We're not reactionary. Glenn, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think you summed it up very well. It's refreshing to be able to run some offense instead of constant defense for a change.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Looking forward to seeing many of you in Las Vegas for the trade show. Glynn and I will be walking the show floor every day. Come with ideas, questions, comments, concerns, and as always, feel free to reach out to us individually if something on the federal level or at the state level, we can triage that and get you an answer to it. We've had also a record number of member inquiries, that we've been processing on a continuous basis. Questions from, can I donate cigars to veterans? To, can you help point me in the right direction? I'm thinking about opening up a new cigar lounge. So those are the things that we like to see. This is a industry that there's a lot of legislative and regulatory hurdles, but we exist to help and smooth over that process and make it as seamless as possible for our members as well as new and aspiring members. So thank you, and we'll see you soon in Vegas.